Hey, I'm Hunt, and this is Hunt on LSU, your channel for LSU Fighting Tiger football talk. Enjoy the video. We want you to leave a comment below, hit that like button, and subscribe right below the video. Enjoy.
I wanted to kind of just take a look at the two LSU guys who are taking part in the Senior Bowl workouts and the game. And as you all know, the practices are really the biggest part of the week. They do the whole dog and pony show with the measurements and all that kind of stuff, and they do have the game, which will be on TV, and that's where the highlights show up. But the Senior Bowl practices, where you do the one-on-ones, you do the 9-on-7s, and all of that is the most productive thing that these guys do as they try to impress the NFL organizations that are present. And Jordan Jefferson and Charles Turner are there for LSU. Of course, Jordan Jefferson, after a solid year on the defensive front for LSU, coming from West Virginia, is over there. And Charles Turner, after a really nice run as LSU's starting center that really started last year after the first game of the season. And both guys were solid for LSU. None were the stars. I think on the offensive line, Will Campbell is kind of the star for LSU, and Emory Jones is right there behind him. And then on the defensive front, you just kind of look around for LSU. You guess Mekhi Wingo and Mason Smith would be your stars, but Jordan Jefferson might have been more productive than both of them for whatever reason the case may be this past year. And so neither guy is – both guys are undersized a little bit. And that's part of it. And you put that tape out there, but this is your opportunity to go against some guys at your level and try to dominate at the Senior Bowl. Charles Turner is a really smart player, a guy who does a great job of setting protections, and worked with a really veteran offensive line and a good offensive line this year. His play in terms of his blocking ability was really good sometimes and left a lot to be desired at times as well. He was way more good than he was not good, for sure, but he's just got to be a little bit more consistent, I think. I think for him, the biggest pros are two-year starter at a really important position on the offensive line, at the highest level you can play in college football, and that's kind of where his pros are. And the negative side is going to be a little bit on the tape and then a little bit on the size. But this is a great opportunity for him to go out there and get some work done in a one-on-one setting, really win the interviews, where I think he'll be a really, really solid interview, and hope he can become a mid-round, late-round pick that can potentially make a team. Jordan Jefferson is interesting because he was a starter at West Virginia and a pretty productive one, and then came to LSU, and he wasn't a starter, but he worked his way into that role and really was probably the most productive player on LSU's defense, and on a defensive unit that almost never flashed. Jordan Jefferson did have some plays where he would show up in the backfield and make a tackle. And trust me, like, if you're watching LSU this year and all of a sudden the offense snaps the ball and LSU makes a play in the defensive backfield, you notice, because it did not happen very often at all this year. And he did get back there and make some plays behind the line of scrimmage. 6'4", 317 is good size. And every defensive front in the NFL is a little bit different. He's going to be an interior guy. I'm not here to tell you what's a zero tech, what's a shade, what's a nose, what's a 5 tech. Like, well, that's not my corner of the store. But I'll tell you, like, I thought he had a pretty good year with 2.5 sacks. On a defense that almost never showed up in the backfield. So these are not the most high-profile guys that LSU will send to the draft. That, of course, is going to be your Heisman Trophy winner in Jaden Daniels, Brian Thomas, Malik Neighbors. I think Mekhi Wingo goes in front of these guys, and Mason Smith is just a mystery to me at this point, but I think he'll go before these guys. But I do think that these two guys, based on their body of work this year and some of the intangibles that certainly Turner has, and I don't know as much about Jefferson, hopefully they can have a huge week and can find their way into the late rounds and find their way to make a team. They certainly played really hard this year, and I'm hopeful. So you'll probably hear some updates from Jacob and T-Bob as to how those guys performed in practice. There'll be a lot of one-on-ones and stuff. Today we've already seen some videos coming out from the Senior Bowl. I think for me, I think Charles Turner is a potential 6th round pick or so, and I think that Jordan Jefferson kind of falls in that same lot. Big dudes that can move a little bit are valuable. And I think you're more likely to take a chance on some of those guys than you would be your general 5'11" corner. You can find more. They're more readily available than your 6'4", 320-pound inside defensive lineman. So I'm hopeful for those two guys. I was hopeful that Jordan Jefferson would come back. I've lost track of trying to keep up with guys' eligibilities at this point. Like, it's just very difficult to do with the COVID year and all the transfers and who fits where. But Jordan Jefferson decided to move it on. Charles Turner did too. Well, she's got some work to do to replace those guys, but hopefully they have a monster week over in Mobile at the Senior Bowl. Jacob and T-Bob will certainly be keeping up with all of that for us over for the station.
Hey, thanks for watching Hunt on LSU. Before you get out of here, do us a couple of favors. Hit that like button, leave your comments below, and subscribe to the channel for all your Fighting Tiger football talk. See you next time.